If you were to think of what makes a game worth getting, what do you think of? Do you think of the gameplay, the story, hell, maybe even how long the game takes to finish? Well, would you believe me that one of the biggest selling points of modern AAA games nowadays is how good the graphics are? Some people refuse to buy games if they can't see the literal sweat drops dripping off the main character's head during cutscenes. Yet they don't care about how fun the gameplay of the game is. No, they're too busy focusing on how realistically the eyelashes are rendered on the main character's eyes. Yes, this is a real tweet, and it's one of the main reasons why I'm making this video, because I genuinely think this need for graphical fidelity is ruining games. Now, I'm not disregarding graphics at all. In fact, I do think graphics are important, because, I mean, without them, we wouldn't actually be seeing anything at all while playing the game. And when a lot of effort has been put into them to make them as visually appealing as possible, it is a genuine treat for your eyes while you're playing. I can't deny that. The problem lies in the need to make every game's graphics as realistic as humanly possible. And they keep trying to constantly push this more and more the better hardware gets. And I know consoles are getting more powerful.
Why isn't this working?
And they want to show off how the console can render skin pores at 4K. But like, the details are usually so minuscule at this point, you can only really tell the difference in terms of graphics if you were to put them side by side to a previous generation game going for the exact same fidelity. And you need to look really closely. There's a reason why a majority of PlayStation 5 games are playable on the PlayStation 4. I still have no idea why I own you. The more I think about it, the more tempted I am to just throw you in the bin. I would honestly say that this whole graphical fidelity shit peaked in the PlayStation 4 era. Developers just want to constantly one-up this, which brings up one of the big problems. Way too much time and money is being sunk into making so many stupid details, like making the horse's balls in Red Dead 2 look realistic and shrink in the cold. Yes, this is real. This means development time takes much longer, as well as increasing the budget, making it harder to make that money back, which in turn leads to, you guessed it, layoffs. I love the game industry. Okay, I am exaggerating a bit. A majority of games' budgets aren't just the graphics, but this need for these realistic graphics are probably one of the main reasons as to why games take so long to be made nowadays. Because artists are just being forced to stay in the office overnight crunching to make Kratos slay harder with his luscious lashes, because people on Twitter are complaining about it. Actually, let's go back round to Twitter here. Specifically this tweet. I genuinely cannot stand that people are taking this shit so seriously, and it started an argument about graphic fidelity between PlayStation and Xbox fans. I won't get into that shit show though, because they're both just coping at the fact neither of their consoles have a reason to exist anymore. But 3 out of these 4 games share a common trend. They would much rather be films than actual games. It's a trend I've noticed with a lot of these games aiming for photorealism. Gameplay is just not the main focus. Instead, they put far more care into the graphics to enhance the cutscenes, so that their pretentious, deep narratives trying to send a message are taken more seriously, or some shit. They want to be treated like blockbuster films rather than just being, you know, fucking fun. Like a game! Wow! Who would have guessed? Fun is immature. Grr, I'm Neil Druckmann. Grr. It's also probably a reason as to why game file sizes are getting ridiculously big now. All of these uncompressed, realistic 4K textures is clogging up the files. It's just ridiculous. If any of you have any of the modern Call of Duty games installed, God rest your hard drive. It's trying its absolute best. Speaking of big file sizes, Red Dead Redemption 2 was so big, it required 2 fucking discs just to install the game onto consoles. 2 fucking discs. Speaking of Red Dead 2, I think that game has started another problem with graphics and details in games, because the amount of detail in Red Dead Redemption 2 is insane. The game took almost a decade to make, and that's for a reason, because Rockstar put so much time crunching to add so many little details that while they are incredibly immersive, in the end are just ultimately pointless. And it's probably one of the reasons why it's 100+ gigabytes. Everything, and I mean everything, has an animation in this game, and everything reacts to the player. Like skinning animals, you can see the animal's flesh being cut into and torn off. Someone modeled and animated all of this shit. Oh, and of course we can't forget looting, which requires you to open up drawers fully, or the fact you have to reach down and physically search a body of a person you've just killed to see if they have any schmeckles on them. All these details fit the realistic graphic style perfectly. And while yeah, this is all cool and immersive for the first hour or two, it does end up becoming kinda tedious, I'm not gonna lie. Red Dead Redemption 2 has set an unrealistic standard for all of this, and more games have added these stupid details in an attempt to appeal to those standards, when in reality, they're just kind of annoying. I love having to crouch down every time to pick up sticks, which are the main resources used for the arrows in Horizon Forbidden West. This unrealistic standard not only negatively impacts developers, but it also negatively impacts consumers too, because everyone is expecting Red Dead 2 levels of fidelity in every AAA game at this point. There are people out there that refuse to buy anything that doesn't have realistic graphics, and if they see anything that is even slightly stylized, they claim that it looks bad and ugly, and don't even give the game a chance. If you want proof of this, look no further than the best game ever made, Prey 2017. The developers of Prey, Arcane Austin, may they rest in peace, have an incredibly unique art style for all their games, where all of the characters look ugly as fuck, but deliberately. For example, in Dishonored, every single one of the characters are covered in imperfections in the best way possible. The texture work alongside these models, accompanied by the environment also having the same art style, make them look like they're straight out of a painting. And I'm not exaggerating here, the game looks amazing. It's from 2012. It stood the test of time, man. Like, I struggle to believe, looking at this, that it's from 2012. And Prey is no different, going for the exact same style, except this time in a sci-fi setting. Yet despite this, people said the game looked graphically bad, which is just downright insane. To this day, Prey still looks amazing. In fact, any stylized game will almost always be graphically better than realistic games. No matter how good the realistic games look, they will never ever stand the test of time because of this push for improving it as soon as hardware gets even the slightest bit better. Also because there'll always be a comparison to it, that being real life. No matter how hard they try, realistic graphics will always, and I mean always, look uncanny. Just because you can go up to your dad at any point, look him in the face, and compare him to Joel from The Last of Us. You can't do the same with Chai from Hi-Fi Rush though, can you? Speaking of Hi-Fi Rush, that's another incredibly stylized game, going for this comic book cartoony style, which is just outstanding. Hi-Fi Rush will stand the test of time compared to a game like The Last of Us, which is probably why they've remastered it 3 fucking times to try and gaslight us into thinking that it always looked amazing with its realistic graphic style. To be honest, Microsoft probably shut down Hi-Fi Rush because Chai didn't have any rendered eyelashes and they wanted to compete with Sony or some shit. I don't fucking, I'm still coping at the fact we will never get a sequel to this game. It genuinely pisses me off. What I'm trying to get at in this video is games need to stop trying so hard to be as realistic as possible, and people need to stop determining if a game is worth it or not by how well rendered the main character's eyelashes are. Focus more of that energy and time into making the game fun and actually visually cool, rather than a glorified tech demo to sell hardware. Trying to get all of these AAA games to focus on this stupidly realistic art style and detail is most likely one of the main factors as to why games are taking so much longer and costing way too much to make. The most important part of a game will always be the gameplay, and nothing will change that. If more games went for a more stylized look that's easier and affordable to create, whilst looking amazing, then we would probably see far more games coming out, and we won't be stuck in a situation like we are now in 2024, where only 2 AAA games worth anyone's time has come out, and the best game of the year isn't even gonna be a game.